Welcome to the channel. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Today I'm going to be looking at a watch brand which has been absolutely hounding me for the past few months to review their watches. I'm talking about Welly Merc. Now I know Aliexpress has bought some of the most weirdest sounding watch brands, mostly due to the language difference, and I'm pretty much okay with the majority of the brands out there, but there's two which I really do struggle with. One is Bernie, and I don't know why, maybe it's a UK thing, but it really just sounds like a bloke's name to me. And the second being Welly Merc. So I have tried to avoid them, but I did do a bit of background a few months back when they released a bunch of Christopher Ward homages, and from what I saw, the renderings were obviously way better than the real life. For example, the C60 Limestone homage, the real pictures looked awful, so I didn't really pay attention to them. Now, for the longest time, I have tried to avoid them, but since those past few months, they have a real diverse collection of watches now, and there's so many designs, and from what I've gathered, they are slightly better now. So I ended up folding and accepted a watch for review. So kudos to Welly Merc for being consistent and persistent. So today we have the Welly Merc WM194. Not exactly sure what it's homaging. It is a diver, and I see a pretty vintage design with some character from the Doxa Sub 600. Maybe there's a bit of Swiss inspiration there, but I'm sure someone watching will be able to point out the exact watch this is homaging. So let's give Welly Merc the full watcher treatment and break them down. So specs wise, you've got the usual stuff: 200 meters of alleged water resistance, you've got a sapphire crystal, 120 click unidirectional diving bezel with what I believe is a glass bezel insert. I've checked, it's not sapphire. A mineral display back, screw down case back, and along with the crown, and it uses the Seiko trusty NH35 automatic movement. You also get a steel bracelet as well with well fitted and female end links and a milled fold over clasp with 6 micro adjustments. You also get 3 different versions, 2 with different bezels and 1 in blue. Now currently this watch is up for sale on Aliexpress under £100. Not so bad so far. The specs definitely give good value for money. Dimensions wise, this is a 42mm case across with a thickness of just around 12mm, which is quite good for the NH35. An overall lug to lug of 48.5mm and a 20mm lug width. Full weight with the full bracelet is around 150 grams, so I'd say it's pretty decent. 42mm is a sweet spot for all those that don't like the smaller watches, and combined with that short lug to lug, it should have a very good fit on a wrist 6.5 inches and upwards. So if you haven't seen this before or dealt with Welly Merc, quick glimpse at the packaging. You've got a hard outer case with the branding on there, and then you've got the inner travel case, which is rock solid exterior, and it's really a good shout. I do like the travel cases. You chuck it in with the holiday clothes and it's very protective. So starting with the main thing for me, the name, obviously I don't like it, but they're selling loads of models, so something is working for them. Now on this WM194 and the majority of their releases, they do have a logo, which is completely inoffensive. You don't really get to see a silly name on the dial, and I do like it. It's definitely discreet and it does work in their favor. Now regarding the dial work, foremost you can see that bright orange paired with black. It's always a great combination. Very legible, and it just screams vintage dive watch. Now, as I said, I don't know exactly what it's homaging, but using my watch experience, it seems very vintage Swiss due to that design, that oversized minute hand, which reminds me of the French brand Yima. But execution wise, it's good as the dial is quite basic. Everything is printed, the lume is layered, and the dial doesn't give off any reflections as it has a very jet black center combined with the orange minute track. You also get a date window at 3, which features the beveled edges, and I think those type of edges do give it a nice finish to a date window. Regarding the handset, you've got really good proportions and length. It definitely does suit the watch, but it's got a very odd color match. The lumed markers are white, but the handset is grey. It's very weird to look at, but when you check the lume out, you can see why. The dial markers are BGW9, but the hands are something else. It's a much darker blue and it is quite poor. Even the dial isn't that amazing. It looks a little patchy. There's not enough layers clearly, and the handset makes it worse. It's definitely cheaper lume, and it's a bit of a random mistake. Now case wise, let's give that bezel a go. As you can see, it is quite low profile, which is going to affect that rotation. So overall, the rotation is pretty decent. There is a little stiffness there because there's not much bezel to grab on, but it does rotate with consistent clicks. But unfortunately for Welly Merc, the bezel does not line up at the 12, and it's off by about a click, which is enough to put some people off. However, on the overall construction, there's no movement, there's no bounce, there's no playback. It seems pretty solid aside from that misalignment there. Now, the construction of that bezel is pretty nice as well. It's fully brushed, and those large square cutouts do have the thinnest of polished bevels along the top. And in the center, between that crystal and the bezel, you get this Omega style 15-sided polished separator. So I can really see that most of the money has definitely gone into the case. Now, aside from the misaligned bezel, the case function is quite good. I'd say it is well above the price point at the moment. The crown is also nice. It's at just under 7mm. You've got really good threading. It's got good function as well. Now, the case finish is really fine and very consistent, and is something which definitely does stand out. The brushing along the side is satin brushed, and the polished bevels on the sides are also nicely done with a very crisp transition. So yeah, you can definitely see where the money went on this watch, and the case design is executed quite well. There's no sharp edges, and it is quite an impressive finish overall. The case back is see-through with a combination of circular brushing and polished sides. It's very OEM style, but once you do turn the watch over and check the back, you'll notice the beveled and polished underside of the case, which is extremely impressive. Now, the case is definitely high end and above the price point definitely being offered. Moving on to the bracelet, it is quite good. I judge bracelets by various little details. One of them is the end link fit and finish. There's definitely no wobble. It's got a really tight fit, and it blends in with the case really well. Now, on the reverse of the watch, you can actually see thicker spring bars have also been used, which really makes a massive difference. Now, the links themselves are faceted. They're flat links. I quite like on watches. It's fully brushed as well. It's worth mentioning that they're not as soft as the brushing that you get on the side of the case. The case side is definitely satin brushing, and the brushing on the links is a little coarse. And it's definitely not as consistent. Now, hopefully you can see exactly what I'm talking about as the light reflects off the grain. The grain here gives off a hand brushed impression, not like machine brushed where the lines are dead straight and crisp and perfect. This definitely looks hand brushed, which is a cheaper way. Now, you won't notice too much on wrist, but the way I'm holding this watch and looking at it, you can definitely see the grain isn't as sharp or as consistent as it is definitely on the case, which there is a clear difference, and which is where you see the trade-off on the cost saving. Now, the links are secured using split pins, which is expected, but it means you get quite a rattly feel to the bracelet, and there's a fair bit of flexibility. Now, these type of bracelets and links are not meant to have this much flex, so this should be a lot stiffer, but again, this is where they saved some money on there. Clasp wise, it's a great clasp. It's fold over with a very soft satin brush finishing along the top, where you'll find the branding, and they've stuck with the initials here as not to scare off anyone with that Welly Merc name. You've got polished bevels along the side, twin pushers, and as I said earlier on, with ample micro adjustments. And of course, milled internals. So on wrist, it is quite a good fit. To be very honest, the 42mm case sits perfectly on the wrist, and I think the crucial measurement here is the lug to lug being well under 50mm, and it's a very flat case. So here, the female end links really help with the overall fit. Legibility is of course fantastic, and the case finish is really up there, and the bracelet, it does feel good on wrist, plenty of articulation. So overall, I think I really need to see a few more of the watches from Welly Merc to really get a better overall opinion. With this particular one, there's a couple of miscellaneous issues: the misaligned bezel, the grey loom on the hands, but overall, for the price point and the design in question, it does have a place in that crowded market. As for this particular one from Welly Merc, the case is what stands out, and it's the best element of the watch. The bracelet comes in at a close second, and the dial, I'd say, is the last thing about it. What about you guys watching? What Welly Merc models do you highly recommend? And I'll reach out to them and get another one, just to get a really good opinion of the brand. Now, let me know below in the comment section, guys. That's it for me today, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.